Hello my beautiful people, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, thanks for stopping by. In today's video I'm going to share with you how to cut a one shoulder princess dart bustier. I'm going to share both the front and the back bodies. Materials required for this work are curve rule, straight ruler, tape rule, scissors, pattern paper, and also my marker. The measurement required are the shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waist or half length, round bust, round under bust, and round waist. So I've gone ahead to draw a straight line to mark as my starting line. On that starting line, I will mark out my shoulder measurement. Shoulder divided by 2 will give me 7 inches. Then on that 7 inches, I will come down to mark 7 inches to mark as my armhole. That will be my shoulder divided by 2. You can use this form, you can use this way, or there's a standard measurement which is your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5 inch. As you can see, I use a straight ruler to connect from that shoulder down to my armhole length. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to place my tape to take my neck width, which will be 3 inches. Then I'll come to my armhole length and come down by 0.5 inch to create my shoulder slope. Then I'll connect from that 0.5 inch to my neck width. After that is done, I'll take my measurement. From my shoulder to my bust is 10 inches, from shoulder to under bust is 13 inches, from shoulder to waist is 15 inches. Now add 1 inch for sewing allowance. When that is done, I'll take my straight ruler to draw a straight line on each of those points. So the next thing I'll do now is to label these lines for clarity's sake. The first line is the bust, the second line is the under bust, the third line is the waist or half length, then the last line is the sewing allowance. So the next thing I'll do now is to take my straight ruler and extend this armhole line this way. This will serve as my chest line. When that is done, the next thing I'll do is to take my neck depth. My neck depth for now will be 3 inches. Then I'll use my French curve to curve it out. After that, I'll take the armhole curve. In order to do that, I'll look for the midpoint of the armhole, which will be 3.5 inches. On that 3.5 inches, I'll go in by 0.5. After that, I'll go to my chest line and mark out my bust divided by 4, which will give me 7.5. Then I'll connect from my shoulder to that 0.5, from that 0.5 to the bust measurement. When that is done, I'll take the dart line. The dart measurement is the nipple to nipple divided by 2, which will give me 4 inches. Then I'll mark the 4 inches on each of the lines. When I'm done marking, I'll use my straight ruler to connect all the dots. When that is done, I'll come to my under bust. Towards the open end of the pattern, I will mark 1.5 inch. This 1.5 inch is because the bust is a small one. From 30 inches down to like 35, you can use 1.5. Then from like bust 38 to 40, you can use 2 inches. Then from 40, 42 and above, you can use 2.5. It all depends on what you want and how curvy you want your cup to be. So as you can see, I've drawn a straight line to connect the dots from the under bust down to the sewing allowance. Then on my bust line, I came down by 1 inch. Then I'll use my French curve to take out my bust curve. So as you can see, everything is coming out nice and neat. The next thing I'll do now is to go up by 1 inch above my bust line and connect it with my straight ruler. So the next thing I'll do now is to take my armhole dart. In order to do that, I'll look for the midpoint of my round armhole. I'll mark the midpoint of the round armhole, and I'll use the French curve to connect from that midpoint down to this 1 inch above the bust line. This is done in order to avoid any pointy edge or any pointy effect on your bust, because the bust is meant to be curvy and not pointy. The next thing I'll do is to come up by 0.5 inch from that midpoint and come down 0.5 inch from that midpoint. Then I'll connect it down this way. This is done in order to tighten the armhole and the bust. As you can see, while I try to connect it, the it didn't connect exactly the way it should immediately, so I tried to adjust it. So there's always room for adjustment, and if you are doing it, better use pencil and cleaner so that whenever you make mistake you just clean. So the next thing I'll do now is to create a new armhole by extending this down line by 1 inch, because 0.5 inch on both sides of the line that I took will give me 1 inch. So I'll extend it to create a new armhole. This is done in order to make sure that when I'm joining my fabric, my armhole won't be short. I'll also add 1 inch on my chest line, then I'll connect from that to the 1 inch. If you are watching to this point, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, click notification bell to get notified whenever I upload new videos. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to take my round bodice measurement. The bust is 30 divided by 4 will give me 7.5. I'll mark the 7.5. Then I'll come down to the waist and I'll mark the waist divided by 4. The waist is 28 inches. 28 divided by 4 will give me 7 inches. You remember the dart we took for the under bust and on the waist, so I'm going to replace that which will be 1.5 inch. After that, I'll go to the under bust and add my sewing allowance. I'll add 1.5 inch for sewing allowance. Then I'll come down to the waist and also add 1.5 inch for sewing allowance. As you can see, I went to the bust also and I added my 1.5 inch for sewing allowance. Then I'll connect the dot. As you can see, the front bodice is ready. The next thing I'll do now is to take out the asymmetric neckline. But before I do that, I'm going to share with you the back bodice. So this is the back bodice. I've gone ahead to draft it out. If you want to learn how to draft the back bodice of a princess dart, I'll drop the link on the description box below so that you will learn it. So I'll go ahead to cut the side and the armhole. So the next thing I'll do now is to also cut the side and the armhole of the front bodice. As you can see, I'm done cutting the excess on both sides of the front and back bodice. So the next thing I'll do now is to notch the center of both the front and the back. After notching, this notching is very important so that you know the exact place your center is by the time you open up your pattern. So I'm going to mark out the asymmetric line on the front bodice before I transfer it to the back bodice. Before I mark out my neckline, for ease, I'm going to extend my neck width by 1 inch. So I'm going to take my neck curve to the point where I want it to the other armhole. So this is, you can use your free hand, you can use your French curve. I wanted to even use my French curve, but I realized that it will be faster and easier when I use my free hand, so I dropped the French curve and I decided to use my free hand. So I'm going to use a dotted line to create what I want first. After I've marked out what I want with a dotted line, then I'll just connect my lines to the end of where I want it to be. When that is done, I'll take my front bodice and place it on my back bodice, and I'll make sure the two center are on each other. That's why I told you that to notch the center is very important. I will place the two notches together, then I'll use my tape to hold it in place. After I've properly placed them on each other, the next thing I'll do is to cut. Like I always say, whenever you are cutting, you take it easy and take your time to cut so you don't make unnecessary mistake. And if you've not subscribed, please subscribe. Subscribe and click notification bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Thanks for your support. I am super grateful. As you can see, I've cut out the neckline and it's looking very beautiful. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to cut out my darts. For the back bodies, if you're going to use a zipper, you make sure you add your zipper allowance. Then when you want to place them on each other, you fold your zipper allowance in before you place them together. Please pay attention to where I'm cutting so you don't make mistake while you are cutting your own. You cut at the right lines to get the best results. As you can see, I am done cutting. This is what the front bodice look like, and this is what the back bodies also look like. As you can see, I opened the center back up. If there is a zipper allowance, the zipper allowance will be folded in for it to look this way. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more. See you in my next video.